All right, everybody, we are live. Let us know in the chat if you're in the chat. Let us know. Say hi. Also, let us know if you can hear us, because I do not. Oh wait, I do have YouTube open, but I'm not going to have it open because it always slows things down, and I'm a little nervous about it. So as many folks who are watching know, the IndieVerse is on a bit of a hiatus right now, but we are coming at you today with a special episode, and it kind of lines up really well. This is the 25th episode of the IndieVerse, so that's kind of nice. And we're doing a Judges Corner discussion about the ISFAB writing competition. But before we get into all of that, we're going to tell you all about it. I'm joined by the other two finalist judges today, and I'm going to turn it over to, I guess, James. Hi. Sorry, everything's backwards. To introduce yourself, and then we could just go in a circle, and then we'll start talking about the competition.
All right. Hello. I am James. I publicize JMD Read. I am a epic and dark fantasy author. My newest book just came out last week called Mask of Guilt, which starts out the Mask of Illumination series, which is a companion series to my Jewels of Illumination series that came out last year and was republished this year with Fallbrant Press. So if you've read that book series and you're curious about this Lady Fenari that one of the characters is always talking about, well, this is her story, and you can read about her redemption. So.
Awesome. I mean to actually read that series at some point, but timing. Yeah, that's a thing. Yeah. Okay, I guess it's my turn. I'm E.G. Stone. I do epic fantasy and science fiction and whatever else suits the imagination. I've got an urban fantasy series coming up sometime this summer. Exact date to be announced eventually. That's pretty much how my scheduling is going at this point. I feel like I should say something else, but all I can think of is popcorn, which I don't have at the moment, so sorry.
No worries at all. Thanks both for the introductions. For those who may know or not know, my name's Jacquelyn. You're on my YouTube channel. Welcome. I write epic fantasy and am the host of the IndieVerse here. And both of the other folks that I have on today actually also host their own interviews / podcasts, right? So you both do that. So EG hosts podcasts or author interviews here on YouTube, and James, it's on the Fantasy Focus website. Right?
Yeah, the author interviews are on pause for a while. I've got like
me too.
million things going on at the moment, but I do author interviews on my blog and book reviews as well. So those will start up again next week.
Awesome. Yeah, I just had episode 96 of my podcast released today with JC Kang, which was really great to talk to him since he's a pretty successful, indie author. So he had some good tips.
Wow, episode 96. How did we get there?
I've been doing this almost a year, 2 a week. So
wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's amazing. Wow. And for anybody interested, if you're watching live or watching on the playback, you can find both. You can find everybody's website linked down in the description below. So we're going to have a quick discussion because the three of us are all judges and the finalists of the ISFAB competition. But just to kind of kick things off, I'm going to share my screen on the ISFAB website so we can talk a little bit about what the competition is. And so everybody here who's watching can understand a little bit about it before we dive in. So ISFAB is hosted by Fallbrant Press, and essentially it's an indie science fiction and fantasy writing competition. Essentially a thousand, wow, that would have been a lot of books, but 100 books were submitted to be judged as part of this competition. And there's been various rounds. So there's been 3 rounds and now we're on the final round. And essentially those have been judged, and the winning book and the winning author is going to win a year-long contract with Fallbrant Press, and then also a year-long PR service. I was like, what's it called again? PR, I think is the word. So that is essentially the premise of ISFAB. It started about 6 months ago? Was that when it started?
Yeah. About January maybe?
Yeah. January, that sounds right.
Yeah, January definitely sounds right. So I guess in the end, it'll be like 6 or 7 months long. So we are the final 3 judges here today for this competition. And essentially we each have 5 books. We're all reading the same books, but we have 5 books to read and take a look at, and essentially give a score to various different categories and questions, and then come up with a winner of this competition. So that's very exciting. And essentially that should be done around the July timeframe. So just to give everybody a little bit of an idea of what this contest is, before we dive into kind of the discussion about how we're going to go about our judging. So I don't know, James, E.G., do you have anything to add? I'm not sure if I missed anything.
Yeah,
No.
I think you covered it. Yeah.
There's been a lot of books.
Yeah, I haven't been paying a huge amount of attention because I knew I would be only reading the last 5. So I don't remember all the books that were submitted. Yeah.
Same. I feel like I've been like silently creeping and liking posts in the group, but I was waiting. I was like, I'm gonna have to read 5 books. Like I can wait for those.
Yeah.
I was only following my 2 friends that entered, and they both didn't make the first round, sadly. So I thought it was a shame because they both have really good books.
Yeah.
Well, 100 books is a lot of books, and like a lot of books. And I think, correct me if I'm wrong on this, but in the previous rounds, judges were judging 2 books, and it's not like everybody was reading every single book. So I feel like it wasn't somebody's particular taste that might have impacted it. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's right. There were, I don't remember how many judges for the first round, but I think 30 for the second.
Yeah.
Lots.
I believe 60 books were eliminated with the first round, so
Yes.
over half.
Yeah.
Didn't get cleared. So, and I think and so only one judge was only reading 1 book up until maybe the last round, if not this round.
Yeah.
But I'm very excited that we're all getting to read the same books, because then we get to talk about them too.
I mean, to be
with
fair,
each other at least.
we shouldn't be talking about them outside of our little circle officially.
No. Yeah, we can talk about them with each other.
Yeah. Sorry, viewers.
Yeah. But if viewers, if you're interested in the books, they're all linked down in the description box below. So please go ahead and check those out, because I mean, they're the top 5 of 100. So yeah, it's very exciting, and they all look pretty epic.
Yes.
So I guess the next, I mean, we'll move on from this. I'll leave it up in case anybody who is watching would want to read it. But I guess we wanted to move on, or I was hoping to move the conversation on to about judging bookish competitions, because I'm new to judging writing competitions. I was asked to do another competition, but I just honestly, the message went to my spam folder. Like Google shipped it over to spam, and then I totally missed it. So that was entirely my fault. But yeah, so I've never done it before. I would love to know, have either of you?
Not a book competition, but I do read and review lots and lots and lots of books. So, I mean, it's similar, I guess. A little bit.
No, it's my first, and really being critical. Usually I read books to review them, but generally I was just enjoying them or not. I'm not trying to, I feel like I gotta think about their plot structure and, how they're conveying their story and, the mechanics behind their their world building and I don't know, I'm paying attention to more stuff than I think I probably would, or thinking about the building blocks of writing that I tend to normally do when I'm reading just for my pleasure, because I don't, I don't want to engage my writer brain sometimes and just start critiquing what I'm reading instead of enjoying it.
Oh, the writer brain.
I've definitely also dabbled in book reviews, and it, even knowing I was going to review a book after reading it changes, I think, the way I read it a little bit. It does turn on the writer brain, I think.
Huh. Gosh, no, at least my brain is a bit weird, so don't take this for normal. But no, I read all the books the same way, and just some of them I happen to write up various thoughts on them. But then I read a lot. Apparently this is not a normal thing to read 4 books a week, so...
Yeah, I don't read that many books. That's a lot of books.
I used to read that many books. Then I became a writer, and then
write that many, and then you write and then you wrote that many books.
Yeah, well, you write super fast, so...
Yeah, but okay, so we're all kind of in this together, and it being like kind of sort of new territory, but not so much. I guess I wanted to follow up with that question of like, have you ever entered a book competition before? I haven't personally entered one like this, but I've entered like book awards before. I have, but
Yeah, I just entered the big indie fantasy one, the FPO one, or I believe it is. The
Hold on,
Sci-Fi
I remember the
fantasy
acronym SPF.
SPL, yeah, something like that. Yeah, I just entered that.
Oh, for this year?
Yeah.
Oh, cool. Very exciting.
So I think signed up was 2 weeks ago.
Yes, that sounds right. No, I entered that last year, and my book made it to round 2, I think. Yeah, I was very pleased with the effort, considering I hadn't actually intended on entering my book for any competitions at all. So
I didn't even know about it, but I was about to interview JC Kang. He's like, "Hey, we got to push up our interview because we're supposed to do the interview right when the entries open, and like they close fast. So can we delay it by an hour so I can get my book entered?" And I'm like, "Oh yeah, sure." And I'm like, "Oh, maybe I should probably do that too."
Is this the SPFBO? Wait.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. So I was like, I thought that's what it was. So for anybody watching, I Googled the acronym because I also didn't know the acronym, but it's the Self-Published Fantasy Blog Off, correct?
Yeah. No, it's a massive competition, and the past winners of that book have done very well, and I like them quite a lot. I don't follow all of the entries as much as I should because so many things happening all at once. But no, it's a great competition.
Well, I'm very excited. I mean, it's really interesting, EG, to hear about your experiences with it, because that's very cool. And then James, like, congrats on entering, and best of luck.
Yeah, we'll see.
Well, it's very exciting. So, yes. So I guess moving on a little bit to talking about ISFAB and like judging in ISFAB. So, I mean, I think I was going to ask how you guys got involved in ISFAB, but unless I think you have like an elaborate story, I think we're all just kind of part of that like group of authors who, who's kind of in this realm. But I would love to, I guess, hear about how you guys got involved and anything like that. And then we can move on to talking about your approaches when judging.
Well, there was this dragon.
Last summer, I think Michael Evan pitched me an idea of doing the reading contest. And he's the guy who put this all together, right, with Fallbrant Press. So and then he asked me if I wanted to be like one of the last judges when he told me the idea. And I said, yeah, sure. And now here we are about 9 months later, I think. So not a very exciting story, I guess.
Yeah, I also don't have a very exciting story. It's kind of similar.
Yeah.
But I like EG, I like the dragon. I really enjoy it.
I wish. No, it was mostly I do book reviews twice a week. I've worked with a lot of Michael's clients and a lot of fantasy books because for some reason fantasy authors and science fiction authors seem to be the first people that actually sign up for my slots, which is totally fine. I read everything. So I do book reviews twice a week, and I think that kind of got on the radar and said, oh, hey, you should, read books for a competition instead of just your blog. And I said, oh, okay, sure. So no dragon, unfortunately.
And what a great, I mean, as a book reviewer, do you find it interesting, I guess, to kind of switch up the way in which you're reviewing books? I know it's kind of the same, but like it's different framework. Similar. I don't know.
Yeah, it's very similar. I'm structuring my actual written reviews the same, but the added criteria of give the world building a number score, and what do you think of the blurb, and what do you think of the title and the cover, and that's all a little bit new. But then I don't actually read the blurbs for a lot of books that I review just because I know I'm going to read it anyways, so why do I need to know what it's about? Yeah, part of me says that's a bad idea, but that's how it works.
Well, that's a great segue, I guess, into the next topic we wanted to discuss today about how we're going to approach judging the books, because you mentioned the kind of different scoring grids. So the books obviously are scored on the contents of the books, and essentially as judges, we have a framework of questions we need to follow and then score each of those questions on a scale of 1 to 10. And it's about the content of the books, but like you mentioned, there's also questions about like the cover and the blurb and the title and stuff like that. So all of that's incorporated, I guess, because it's all part of the experience of reading a book. So I wanted to chat or ask the both of you, like, what your approaches are going to be when judging. Are you going to read the whole book and then go back and answer the questions, or are you going to like focus on different aspects first? I'm not sure. Are you going to figure it out as we go?
I'm just going to wait to finish the book and then go through the questionnaire and answer it kind of how I felt. But keeping some of the, like the technical questions, like how well is it edited, and the plot structure and world building stuff, keep that in mind. And I think the other stuff the other questions like how satisfying the ending was, or the dialogue or the characters, that's stuff that I'll just have known by reading the book. But I want to pay attention to the more technical parts too, so I have that in mind when I get to the end. Yeah.
Makes sense. So I went through and answered the questions about the title and the cover and the blurb first, since you can do that very quickly. I don't actually have to have read the book to judge what I think of the title or the cover. So I did that, and you should not be surprised by this, but I've gone through 2 already. Yeah.
Quick reader, 4 books a week. Got it. Showing us all up.
Yeah, don't be surprised by this. The other ones will take longer because I have to get back on the book review circuit this next month. But
I might have chosen the longest book of the 5 first, because boy, is it my Kindle thing. It's going to take me a long time before I'm done with it, and I'm 25% in.
I don't know which one's the longest.
Well, we'll find out, I guess. It is.
That's true.
It's a doorstopper. I can tell you. It must be 200K words. It's a meaty book. Yeah.
Okay, decent size. That might take me like a couple more hours than usual. Yeah. So I just went through and then answered all the questions, of course, that I hadn't already answered about the world building and dialogue and what I thought of the characters and that sort of a thing. And then I just wrote up my standard 4-part review, which is thoughts on the plot, thoughts on the characters, and the favorite part, and then any critiques that I have. That's pretty much how my reviews work.
Yeah, I similarly went through and looked at the titles, covers, blurbs. I think like I didn't actually score them, but I was just like, I feel like I'm going to go off like first impressions for these, because I feel like that's like probably the most accurate. Because I guess like maybe once you read the title, the like cover might make more sense. But I was kind of judging it on like the approach of somebody picking it up. I don't know. But then in terms of like reading, I'm going to try and finish the whole book before I kind of take a look at the questions, just because I feel like if I focus too much on the questions as I'm reading, I might miss the experience, and that might detract from the reading experience. I don't know. I think I'll have to figure it out along the way.
Yeah.
Because at the same time, then I might miss something that would impact one of the answers. So.
Ooh. Yeah, and then there's rereading that might have to be done, which is always interesting.
Trying not to do that. Trying not to have to reread, but I do tend to sometimes have to do that. And I also, I don't know about the 2 of you, but sometimes I take notes as I read. I don't know. Even when I'm not planning on reviewing it, like sometimes I just take notes as I read. Sure.
Makes sense to me. I mean, I don't usually do it because taking notes requires me to have a notepad, and I usually have my Kindle, and it's too much work. Yes, I feel like I should add something else, but I don't remember what it was, so oops.
So I did have kind of like a follow-up, like 2 follow-up questions. We've talked a little bit about like what the judging criteria are and our approach, but I guess as a reader, and I'm not necessarily asking you this as a judge, but like just as a reader, what is something that you really like to see in a novel, and what is something that's like, I suppose, one of like maybe a little pet peeve of yours? Just curious.
I like to see really good world building, I guess, first off in fantasy. That's kind of my first thing. I like to have a world that feels alive, and that like your fantasy stuff seems to be incorporated in with how the world works and how the society develops. I like to see that sort of stuff. And my pet peeve is when that isn't there. So
I have such a similar answer to you.
Yep. World building in a fantasy novel is kind of important. I mean, urban fantasy you can get away with a little bit less because it's the world. But I don't know. Even that one, I think, requires it. No, I'm a character person. I like characters. If the characters aren't interesting, if they don't interact naturally, if they're just like irksome,
right, yeah.
then that's it.
Obviously, a fun character can overcome bad world building, and you know, it's kind of like it's like a skill. Like if it's all there, it's great. Good characters, good plot, good world building, and when you start to take some of those away, like it starts to suffer. But like good characters can carry you through. They're fun characters. But it's fun to read, and you just don't really care because you're just having a good time.
Yeah. I think characters are the ones that do it for me, but then world building is also important. I guess I just expect it to be there in a fantasy novel. And if it's not there, then I notice it. I guess.
It's like usually the world's still like small, like they don't exist beyond where the characters are. Is I guess more what I'm saying. Like there is world building, but I don't feel like there's a world beyond the pages where the characters are at. Is I guess what I'm meaning at.
I guess that makes sense.
Yeah, I agree with that. I like, especially in like a fantasy type novel or sci-fi type novel, like having that feeling like the story's part of like a broader world, or the world has rules to it. Like the fantasy has rules. I mean, if it's like soft fantasy, even still, there are rules associated with that. So I don't think it's like a harder soft fantasy type thing. I think it's just like, what's the logic in this world?
worlds tend to be not small, right? You know, there should be like other kingdoms out there, other cities, it just drops some names. Like when you go like, you know, there's trade, or I don't know, unless they're stuck on a small island. I mean, then that makes sense. If there's not, like, I don't know, like your sylphs, like they lived on a little island. I'm like, yeah, that makes sense why you don't hear about that outside world, because they're out in the middle of the ocean. They don't have the technology to really go see anyone, you know, at the start anyways. Yeah.
I mean, to be fair, I did kind of throw them right into the middle of a world that they didn't understand, so oops. Feel a little bad about that. Just a smidge.
I guess like to not answer world building, because my answer would have probably been world building. Something I really enjoy, and maybe this also like goes along with characters, and it could go along with world building too. Anything really, but I really enjoy really good dialogue, like really good, like punchy, like charismatic dialogue between characters is just so like absolutely enthralling. Like you just like get sucked right in and you want to be there. And yeah, I really love good dialogue. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that's fun. That's David Eddings is like my go-to for that. For like who I want for fun dialogue with his characters. He always like cracking jokes and making light of the villains.
I love doing that.
That in like Stargate SG-1 with like Colonel O'Neill, he's always like making fun of the villains' plans and stuff, not taking it seriously. And
yes.
I love that. Yeah.
Yep.
So good. It's just
Gosh, I just rewatched that show.
I want to rewatch that show.
Well,
10 seasons of it.
It's 10 seasons. But I'm moving, so there's only like limited stuff that I can do when all my other things are packed away. So Stargate was on the list. Yeah.
It sounds like a perfect activity.
Oh, it was great. except for 10 seasons. It's unbelievable.
It's a lot.
It's a lot. Yeah, more than
Yeah.
I needed. But oh well. Oh well.
But I definitely think dialogue's a big one for me. I do think though, like the way, like the questions in which we have to answer to judge the competition though will allow us to, like, obviously there's sections where we can analyze the things that we like, but there's other sections that are like for me, world building over characters like every time, but it's not, things aren't going to be, I suppose, like based on the questions, like everything will be weighted super fairly. So we can't be like biased towards one thing or another.
I mean, you could.
You could. You're right.
But it's harder.
But at least it like forces you to, I suppose, consider things that are not necessarily
world building.
Like I would obviously go to world building, or perhaps like I know I'm also I also really like a well-paced novel. I used to be that person that like once I started a novel, I used to never not finish novels, and obviously this is a competition. It's not like I'm not going to finish these novels. But then when someone told me you could just not finish a book, if I was like, wait, what? You're allowed to do that? And it like blew my mind. And I think that pacing is one of the biggest reasons that I do that. If I really think about it.
Slow versus fast?
Honestly, I think there just needs to be an even keel, because sometimes things are so breakneck. I'm like, wait, what's happening? And there's a bit of whiplash happening. So
yeah. I mean, I know that I used to finish books like sometimes I just had to know how they ended, even if I wasn't enjoying the book. But I just I need to know the answers to these questions. That was the Da Vinci Code, actually. I hated that book. But at the same time, I hated it because I actually knew what he was talking about. Early Christian history. So I was just really going like, you do not know what you're talking about.
I hate that.
The Council of Nicaea, and he's misrepresenting it, and then he puts that little blurb like all this stuff is true. And then, but he's taking a lot of historical license with stuff and passing it off as true. And so it was just offending me. But anyways, I got to the end of the book, and I was like, all right, I'm done with this book, and I threw it across the room. Which is a shame. I really enjoyed Angels and Demons, his first book.
I also really enjoyed Angels and Demons. I was also not really a fan of Da Vinci Code. Or what was the other? There was a third one.
I read that one. It was okay. And I think there's been more since then, but
golly,
the third one was into like Masonic and like here in the States.
I've only read 3, so
yeah.
I haven't read any of those. I watched the movie and was just like so not thrilled with the writing of that movie. It was terrible that I decided, you know what? I'm not going to bother. And then I read a forensic linguistics book talking about, I had a client and he wanted me to analyze his novel and the Da Vinci Code to see if it was plagiarized. And I can't actually publish the conclusion, but so
really?
That was...
it's Holy Blood, Holy Grail. And the villain of the Da Vinci Code is an anagram for 2 of the authors who wrote that book. And they're the ones who came up with the whole like theory behind it.
Oh, really?
Yeah, the whole Jesus, that Mary Magdalene is the Grail, and he's married. That all came from this book in the 70s called Holy Blood, Holy Grail.
Huh. Interesting.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, and like I said,
the villain's name was an anagram of the author's names?
Yeah,
I hate it when authors do that. Anagrams.
That's bold.
His first and last name were anagrams of 2 of the 3 authors that wrote that book. And he's just basically putting out the thesis of that book as like the villain's like whole like explanation of it. It's just that whole thesis. So
weird.
Yeah.
Huh.
Things I didn't know. Okay.
Yeah, you learn something new every day.
I think I'll just stick with the linguistics bit, because that other stuff goes right over my head. It's just okay.
Well, thank you so much, you two, for joining today. We're about at the half-hour mark, and those are all the questions that I have. So I guess, like, before we wrap up, I'm just going to ask either of the 2 of you, do you have any, like, last comments about participating in this as judges? Any well wishes, I guess, for the competitors, stuff like that? And then feel free to promote whatever you want to promote, say goodbye, and then we can sign off.
Yeah, I'm thrilled to do this. I feel like a lot of pressure to judge these books fairly. They made it this far. So I want to, do them justice. And I'll be honest, I'm a lenient guy when it comes to books. I very rarely go beneath 4 stars in a review. It has to be pretty bad if I'm going below 4 stars. So I'm kind of I like to look at like the components and go like, what were you going for? Are you trying to hit your genre? Are you, maybe even if I didn't like the book, like, do I think you're writing towards an audience and that audience should like it? Stuff like that. That's things I think about. So yeah.
That's a really great point. Like I definitely, just on like what you said there, I can definitely read a book, not like it, and know it's for somebody else. Like be like, this is a good book, but it's just not for me. Like I can definitely differentiate, and yeah.
I've done that. It happens rarely because I do read everything, but every now and again there's something that's like, okay, this isn't meant for me. It's for other people. No, for me, it's mostly just well done to all those who entered the contest. You're impressive for even doing that. And the ones who made it this far, I look forward to reading the books. I have finished 2 of them, but I look forward to the other ones because, time travel is a thing. And after the competition is done, if anyone wants book reviews for your books, just send me a message and we'll set something up. Because why not?
And again, to anybody watching, everybody's website, the link to ISFAB, the link to Fallbrant Press, and the link to everybody's website here today is down in the description box below, along with all of the final novels. I just want to echo what both of you have said. Congratulations to all the finalists. It's absolutely amazing, and I can only hope to judge the books well, and I'm very, very, very excited to read them. They all look absolutely fabulous, and fortunately, though, they are all to like science fiction and fantasy. E.g., I'm kind of like you. I read most genres, and it's very rare that I come across a book where I'm like, not for me. So I'm very, very excited and thrilled to have 5 books to read. So,
all right. Final results are what, middle of July?
Yeah, I mean, I think our results are due middle of July, so I'm not actually sure when there's like, if the announcement's going to happen on the day or the day after we submit our results, or if there's going to be like
things we should probably know.
So I don't know that, but for anybody who's interested, definitely just check the ISFAB website, and I'm sure there'll be updates there.
All right.
All right.
Well, thanks for having me.
Yeah, it was fun.
No problem. And again, everybody, everyone's links is down in the description box below. So thanks so much for joining, everyone. If you have any questions about ISFAB, leave them in the comments or send them to Fallbrant, because I'm sure they'd be happy to answer. All right, everybody. Bye.
Bye.